Hey everyone, welcome back to the It's a Mind Game podcast. My name is Jade, and today I'm very excited to have the wonderful Elisabeth with me from Austria, who loves nature, traveling, cooking, and yoga. And while this will feel like the first time you've ever heard from Elisabeth, this is actually our second because she has been so kind enough to join me again after we had a crazy technical glitch. So I just wanted to say an additional thank you to Elisabeth for coming on again to share your HA journey with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
But I guess the cool thing about it is now I have a better insight to your journey. So perhaps we'll have an even better conversation because we know a few more things about each other and we can sort of deep and dive into things a little bit more than what we did originally. I guess with that being said, a wonderful part of your journey is that so you're currently in HA recovery, which is going to be relatable to a lot of our listeners, but you've actually gone through HA recovery in the past without really knowing. Well, at least it was a less intense experience than this time around. Could we possibly dive into what it was like then, and then we can venture into what is happening now?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the first time around, I didn't really know that I had HA. I was just, I had a stressful time. I came off my pill. I lost a lot of weight, not intentionally, but I had severe stomach issues, gut issues, digestive issues. So that was really unintentional. And then when I gained back weight, I got my period without even knowing that I was refeeding my body back to a healthy state. And I didn't even think there was something wrong when I lost it again after like I since I gained quite an amount of weight, I wanted to get rid of it again because then I knew what it means like to be in a skinny body, in a toned body. So when I tried to lose that weight, I also lost my period again. But since it wasn't there a few years before that, for me it was normal. So losing my period again didn't really matter to me that much back then.
So when you lost it the first time, how long do you think that was for?
That was probably like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so it was still a substantial amount of time. And it's so common that women lose their period and kind of just go, oh, because it's convenient. And if you're already training as much as that you're training, and it doesn't seem like a real issue. And it's not as though doctors are super, I guess, obsessed about the idea of a woman losing their cycle as well, even if you were to go to the GP. Do you think in the original stage of HA, that is why you sort of just went with the flow and didn't look a whole lot into it because it didn't seem like a priority at the time? Or even that first time around, you sort of had this, oh, I probably should have it. What was it like, I guess, mentally?
Well, at the beginning, you realize that there's something off. But the longer it takes, the more normal it gets. And then you just don't think about it. Like, I really did not think about it at all until my annual appointment with the gynecologist, when I remembered, ooh, I don't have a period. I'm curious what he's going to do about it this year. But every year he said, it's fine if you don't want kids right now, as we all know that's what they do. Yeah, you could potentially go on a pill, so you have it a little bit more regulated, which I wasn't interested in. So yeah, and that was my another annual checkup, and then I forgot about it again for a year until I would go back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was. I thought, well, if my gynecologist isn't concerned about it, there's no need for me to be concerned about it. And as we all know, we get praised for being lean, having a fit physique. That encourages you even more to follow your path.
Yeah. And what do you believe happened when you got your period back that first time? Because even though there wasn't a whole lot of intention behind it, there definitely would have been lifestyle changes that allowed your body to heal and recover. Looking back, what do you think were the main contributing factors to your period coming back?
Well, it was definitely food and I just enjoyed life back then. So I moved to the United States, and I broke out of my daily routine, and my whole life changed, and I enjoyed all of the foods that I found there. I went to Starbucks every day without thinking about calories. I loved jelly beans. I ate all the things. I discovered sushi. I went out with all my friends all the time. I drank not a lot, but yeah,
Often.
I had cocktails a few times a week, and I just enjoyed life. I traveled every time I had off, which is something that we usually don't do in our daily life. Like when you have the weekend off, you just relax and meet friends. But since I knew that I was only there for a certain amount of time, I tried to travel as much within the country. Yeah, I was just living a different life because you don't have worries when you live in a different country, and you know there's nothing here I need to worry about because I'm going back home to my real life in a year and a half. Um, so it's a very easy way of living. And yeah, then eventually my period came back, which at the beginning I thought, ooh, something's wrong, and then I realized, oh, something's right. But yeah, um, that made me realize that I probably gained back too much weight. So that was another thought that was creeping in.
I have a few questions and then we can definitely jump into that
Mm-hmm.
part because I feel like that'll be the question that's on everyone's mind as they're listening. Um, when you moved, did you find the fact that there was no attachments to sort of that past life that allowed you to really live freely? Because as you said, as soon as you moved there, you kind of dropped routines and just made the most of what was happening while you were there. And also, it seemed like a big goal for you was making the most of time. So, whenever you could, you were traveling, whenever you could, you were socializing, whenever you could, like literally, the goal was to have fun and have wonderful experiences versus potentially when you're back home, there's a little bit more of a structure between either study, work, gym, nutrition, like it's a little bit more robotic. Did you find that some of the freedom that come from traveling was associated with literally just making the most of the time that you had there?
Yeah, definitely. That was, especially since this was something that I never did at home. As you mentioned, I had my routine at home, gym, work, study, things like this. But not only was it a routine, a day-to-day routine, but also like I saved all my money. I never splurged on anything. I never went to the movies. I did travel because I always loved traveling, but that was the only thing that I allowed myself to have. So being there, I knew that I wanted to save money, yes, eventually, but I also knew that I wanted to take every chance that I get to meet new people, see new things. So that was all not in my head at that moment. So it was like taking a break from real life for a very long time, and that definitely helped to like unstress and relax a lot more.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said about the money side of things because I find that's really common both with women that I speak to on the podcast and even from personal experiences that it's almost like you can hold on to your money as you hold on to your restriction of other things, and it actually connects quite deeply where it's almost as though you don't give yourself permission to spend and enjoy. And I'm not saying that you need to spend money to have a good time. I don't mean it like that. But as in, even if you've got the option to buy yourself some dinner or take yourself to the movies, there's always a good enough reason not to. Versus when you go through HA recovery, or you can just sort of let the reins go a little bit, suddenly you can see that that's actually a really good reason to treat yourself and have a good time. Um, did did you notice those things added a lot more joy to your life? And also, it kind of made it easier to not fixate on food and exercise because you literally had more fun and exciting things to do.
Yeah, that was a very big contributor, and also that I was taken out of my usual surrounding. There were no friends, no family that used to I don't want to say support my routine, but for them it was just normal, and they didn't call me out on all my behaviors that I did. And over there it was like I could be a different version of myself. So no one would mention anything if I would all of a sudden eat more or didn't work out as much, because they did not know me any different.
Mm.
They just noticed it when I gained weight, which was what made me also then try to lose weight again. So that was the only thing that they noticed. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because that's a really important part of, where you are now. So you've gone from having HA to recovering a period kind of accidentally through fun, and then all of a sudden you've gained what you considered too much weight and things sort of reverted back. What exactly happened then?
Yeah, there was one specific moment I remember when I was out with my new friends back then, and we were having cocktails at a bar. And one of the guys who I became very close with as a friend, not in a romantic way, but just as friends, um, he he started pinching my love handles, and he said, "Hey, what's going on there? That wasn't there before when I met you." And that was a really horrible experience. Obviously, I noticed that I had gained weight. We all do, but I never, like, it
You were
wasn't
too busy
bothering
being
me.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I thought, well, that's just the way I am now. And then I did have my period at that point already. But I remember the next day I went and bought a scale, and I stepped on the scale, and I was like, oh my gosh, how could I just let that happen?
Mm.
And that was the moment that let me go backwards again, right back into HA recovery, and even more. I restricted even more, and I worked out even more than before, because up until that point I did work out when I was back home, but not as obsessive, let's put it that way. I did do some kind of aerobics. I went to ballet school. I did run from time to time, but yeah, when I saw my weight go back up again, I made plans to really have a scheduled workout plan to make sure that I lose that weight again, and also get toned this time. That was not like I did a lot of cardio, but I never did anything, no strength workouts. That was when that's what I started when I made the plan to lose the weight again.
Yeah, and you can see why there's a lot of sort of push in society at the moment to not make comments on people's body, because your friend absolutely could have been trying to just stir you and have a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely the least appropriate thing to do. But I would, especially because he's our friends, that in his reality, he was kind of just joking around and being playful. But obviously that was enough to just send you into a whole cascade of, well, let's burn this off, let's get back into shape. And literally it was like a light switch for you. You've gone from having this super fun, enjoyable, free, spontaneous lifestyle to, oh my goodness, I've got to get my act back together. Did it feel like a light switch for you? Like that comment happened and then within 24 hours it was like, all right, we got to go? Or did it sort of fester in your mind for a little bit?
No, absolutely. And it wasn't even 24 hours. It was hurtful. I was shocked. I was ashamed.
Mm.
Probably shame was the strongest emotion I felt at that moment. And I also remember I went straight back home because I didn't want to be around this group of friends anymore. And I remember I recently found pictures from that evening, and I'm still like, when I look at the pictures, it comes back to me instantly. But I thought about just deleting those pictures, but I don't want to forget about it, because this is something I I don't want to say I never wanted to happen again, but I never want something like this, a comment like this, affect me in a way that it used to back then. So I will keep it to make sure that I will never go back to being that fragile person.
Yeah.
um, as
Well,
a
as
reminder to keep looking forward and going forward.
Yeah, but as you describe that emotion of shame, it's such an intense emotion that it is a lot harder for us to process and sort of shrug it off as to anything else. Because in that moment, he brought up something that, one, had been a vulnerability in the past, and two, as you said, he was quite a good friend. So with that comment, it's like it has the potential to say dismiss the friendship group, which is, why all of a sudden you felt that intention to, I need to move away, because what happens if they leave me before I leave them? And I think that's where people don't grasp the concept of, I'm going to say observation, purely because I don't think a lot of people's comments mean what they think they mean. Like, I don't think your friend said that to upset you or hurt your feelings or to push you away in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely correct me if I'm wrong, because it's your friend and you know a lot better than me. But in that moment, instantly it had you feeling that way. And there was no one there to guide you through it and be like, oh, look, Elisabeth, you know, you're taking this harder than what it was intended, to help you sort of cope with it and shrug it off and process it better than sort of just that flight or fight, which is run, because I don't want to go through the idea of them not liking me, even though that's something that had never been in your mind previously.
Yeah. Also, any other person without a history of HA would probably just laugh about it and tell him
Absolutely.
to just mind his own business and just get over with it and move on with life. But someone with an HA background or an eating disorder background,
It's
this
a
is
trigger.
probably the worst thing that anyone could say. And as you
Yeah.
said, especially when it's friends, it's even harder.
Yeah, and as you said, the way how backgrounds change things as well, because I've seen it happen before between my own friends and family, or even just out in public, where someone has gestured like a belly rub, or like a pinch of the left handles, or a pinch of the bottom, to be like, oh, have a look at this, and then they'll playfully do the same gesture back to the other person. And I say that because I think when you're so conscious of your own physical appearance for various reasons, you're also a lot more observant when other people are doing it to each other, because it's like, oh gosh, that would really upset me, or or I wouldn't like that. We're kind of like meerkats when we see those things go on. But you do see plenty of humans just interact and playfully sort of poke their stomach or grab their bum, and it means nothing. It's just like, oh yeah, well, we both had the burgers, ha ha ha, and it's a very jolly moment, and then it's nothing. Like, it doesn't get carried back with them. It doesn't get transferred into another conversation or a diet or an exercise routine, or it's just a bit of fun. And there's definitely a I don't know what the word is. I've lost it. Like a scale from 0 to 10 in that, because there's other people that of course won't act on anything, but they can't let the memory go, and it's still interfering with their thoughts internally in their own time. But have you noticed that as well, that when you're out in public, friends or family, that certain actions just don't bother people? It's funny, it doesn't matter, but you might sit there and watch and be like, oh, I wouldn't like that.
I do notice it, but I'm not like, oh, I wouldn't like that. I feel like I want to get to this point where I can laugh about it.
Yes.
And I remember a situation with my dad when I was a teenager. I was quite a chubby teenager, and I was bending over to wash my face, and he was coming into the bathroom, and he was like, "Your belly is getting big, girl." And I laughed about it. I said, "Look at your own belly, old man." So this is what I said to him. And years later, a comment like this, with me being maybe, I don't know, 20 pounds lighter than as a teenager, it was seriously hurtful. So that goes to show that it all depends on what background you have, what's on your mind, what your head is, what headspace you're in. And yeah, that's exactly where I want to go back. I want to hear those comments and just hear it as an innocent comment without any it into as it is, as a joke, and get it over with.
Yeah. And I love that that's the goal, because when I asked you, I was like, I wonder where you are in the recovery stage, because that's definitely a leap. where it's like I can recognize that I don't want to react the way that I have in the past. I want to be able to have a laugh. I want to be able to not take it so seriously. And I also recognize that there was a part of my life where I used to be that person, which is the example that you had. So it's not that far away for you. It's just a matter of consistently sort of recognizing those thoughts that kick in and retraining yourself to be like, no, don't take it personally. Like this is comical. It's funny. It's, it's a more pleasant experience. Have you found that with the HA recovery this time around, because you can sort of, I guess, witness the changes that have happened over time from the original HA to recovering and then back into HA again, even though going through HA twice isn't sort of the plan by any means, but you've got a sort of a reflection of, well, when I recovered the last time, there was these few elements that I think made things work. Have you carried that through to this recovery journey, or do you feel like it has been a completely different experience because your lifestyle is very different?
To be honest, I have not, because this is the first time that, like, you just made me aware of the fact that I had certain elements in my life back then that I don't have now, and makes me want to go abroad again for like a year or so. But no, it's definitely a completely different approach right now, because I have a lot more information that I didn't have back then. I'm a lot older than I was back then. I'm like 12 years older. My reasons for wanting to recover are different. So is my community, and also my mental capacity and my stability, and also my mindset. So the goals are completely different. And it's always easier to achieve something where you're not aware of that this is a goal. Some things just happen, and once it gets your goal, it's so hard to accomplish. Like things you want so bad become super hard to achieve all of a sudden, because they are a goal now. And when you try to do, or when you reach goals subconsciously, it's just, yeah, that just happened.
Yeah, because now you've got the element of time sort of attached to it, because it's like a running countdown timer. I do wonder though, because you said you just recognize that there's things that you haven't, say, implemented this time around, and I'm really interested in that, because surface value, we get the whole eat more, relax, do yoga, listen to podcasts, read the books, and then wait. But I feel like something just ticked in your head as we were talking then, and I'm really curious to go, what do you feel like you're not implementing that you did last time?
It's the stress factor, definitely. Like I feel constantly stressed, even though I'm doing all the things we are supposed to do. I limit screen time, I meditate, I do breath work, I do yoga. But I feel like as soon as I step out the door, I'm super stressed. And this is something that I wasn't back then. It's just because I'm in the life that I'm now, and I'm in this life where I will be until the end of my life. And as I said before, being in the United States was like stepping out of my life without having to worry about insurance, saving money, paying rent, making sure that the garbage gets out on every Monday, and that the fridge is full, and that I take care of my godson and my parents, and that I call my sister. And those are all things, or paying bills for various reasons, or making sure that I put my my clothes out for work the next day, and all those little things. Like I sometimes feel like my days, even though I'm doing a lot less now, because like before I started HA recovery this time around, I worked out 3 to 4 times a day. So by not doing this anymore, I have a lot more time. But still, I have a very structured day, and I feel like the structure is contributing a lot to my stress. And I didn't have that back then, because I just had my working hours, and the rest of the day was basically free, and I could do whatever I wanted, and I didn't have any plans other than having fun with friends and or going out or going somewhere, driving somewhere, seeing something. Yeah, it's different when you get older. Certainly, when you're married, it's different because you don't live your own life anymore. You live with someone else. Yeah, it's just being in a different stage of life makes it a lot different.
Yes, because there's so many things that are non-negotiables, where, as you said, the to-do list is a lot longer than it needed to, than it was in the past, and then a lot of things that you can negotiate on and be like, oh, next week. I do wonder, what are you doing for fun at the moment?
I'm doing a lot for fun, and I wasn't aware that I'm doing that many things for fun until a friend told me. Because I met this girl in my HA society, and we send each other messages every day, and we just update each other on. We started updating each other on our HA progress to motivate each other, and it ended up being a really close friendship where we message each other a few times a day. With Marco Polo, so we even take ourselves on tours. We are part of each other's lives. And then one day she said, "Oh, I admire that you're doing so many fun things, like going to concerts or baking with friends or collecting herbs in the forest or mushrooms or making whatever out of fruit and baking and just going on vacation." And then I was like, she's right. I'm really doing a lot of things for fun now. And that made me realize that I didn't allow myself to have that much fun the past 10 years, 12, maybe even more. So yeah, I'm very crafty. I do a lot of creative things, but that's not HA related. That's pandemic related. So not being able to do as many things outside, I started painting again. I started making quilts, patchwork quilts. I bake a lot. I love baking bread. So by now I think I have 35 plants in my house. So those are all things that are fun for me, and I love being outside too. All those things give me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I feel like all of those things are so like incredibly important to HA recovery, because it's so easy to get absorbed in doing, I guess, the textbook recovery side of things, which is make sure you rest and make sure you do yoga and make sure you eat more and make sure da, 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 da. And the thing is, if you're looking at it from a make sure you do this, you're still hyper stressed, because it's like, well, I haven't done yoga today, and oh my gosh, did I eat enough? Did I do this? Did I do that? Oh my gosh, I'm really stressed. I should be relaxing. Why aren't I relaxing? And it's actually, it can become quite toxic. And I'd love to hear your take on that, for one. But second of all, I encourage a lot of women that are going through HA to go back to a hobby that they did in high school or primary school, or do something that's a little bit silly, like put on your favorite song and dance in the lounge room. It doesn't have to be for an hour. It can literally be for 2 minutes, but just teaching yourself that you can get out of the to-do list mentality. Because yes, absolutely, we're always going to have a to-do list. We're always going to have stresses. We're always going to have things that we can show to, I guess, obstruct HA recovery. And that can be stressful too. It's like, oh, how can I ever recover with all these things going on? And that's sort of the magic in the process. It's witnessing, okay, well, there's a lot of things that have the potential to stress me out, but how do I best manage them? How do I make sure that when work gets tough, that I can remain calm and just chip away? How do I make sure that in my downtime, rather than obsess over my to-do list, I give myself even just 10 minutes to go outside, to go garden for a little bit, to do the smallest of things? It's not even big time blocks. When you are doing your arts and crafts and you are going outside and you are going to concerts, do you find that it gives you a nice break away from not only your work life, your family life, but do you find sometimes it can also distance you just from the obsessiveness that can kick in about HA recovery as well?
Yeah, definitely. Because as you said, especially at the beginning of HA recovery, we like to stress about everything. We want to do everything perfect.
Mm.
We were able to diet perfectly. We were able to have the perfect workout routine, and now we want to make recovery perfect. And at the beginning, I listened to every podcast. I read every study, every book, and I wanted to try everything. And that alone stressed me out so much because I did not know what to do anymore. Like the more I knew, the more I thought I have to do it all, and the less I actually got done. So yeah, and again, I don't know how much also the pandemic contributed to this, but we were all forced to go a lot slower. A lot of things that were important were not important anymore. So laundry was a lot less since, well, my husband is a musician, and he was home a lot. So that was a lot less laundry. Like for all his gigs, I didn't have to make sure that he has his stuff done. He also took away a lot of the housework. He would probably take two or three things off my to-do list every day. So he was really a big help. He's not anymore because he's back working. Let's see for how long that goes. But I totally forgot what you asked me. Like I got off.
No, we were just talking about how at the start of HA recovery, you just sort of obsess over the process, and learning to literally let go of the process actually helps as in the mental side of it, sort of just knowing the pinnacles and then just doing them casually each and every day consistently. And you were saying that the pandemic has helped with that because the daily structure had shifted.
And another thing that changed about almost everything I do, like all the things that normal people do, like just go out spontaneously for ice cream or go to a restaurant more than on your birthday and on somebody else's birthday, but just for fun, because you just don't fancy cooking, and then you just go out spontaneously. Those things I've learned to enjoy so much more than before, and I still find myself sitting in restaurants being happy about the fact that I order something on the menu without making any adjustments. So this is something that I'm still smiling about when we do it. We do it more and more frequently. Yeah. And sometimes I feel really stupid for being that happy about things that are normal to other people, or just having ice cream and being so happy about it. I remember the first ice cream I allowed myself to eat, I almost cried because I felt so happy. And it's like you get to do all those things for the first time again, or going on vacation and finally enjoying all the foods there instead of making sure that the gym is open for 24 hours or that they have special diet breakfast buffets, stuff like that.
Just what you said about sometimes you can feel, I think you said guilty, about experiencing things in such joy that other people consider normal. And I see both sides, because I remember personally thinking, gosh, at times, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just eat what everybody else eats? And it was definitely a negative thought process that was kicking in, rather than be, I can't wait to eat the way they do. I can't wait to just effortlessly choose what I want. It was, why can't I? Why can't I? And attached to that is you're seeing yourself as not good enough, because it's like, I can't do what they can do. But the language shift of, even as you said with the body comments and things like that, like, I mean, I can't wait to just be able to laugh about it. It's such an important part of our language to articulate what we actually want and what we don't want. So the experiences we're talking about are the exact same thing, but the way we word them completely shifts the energy attached to it. But I learned to love the new experiences of food, and rather than sort of go, oh gosh, why can't, everything's so special. it's sort of, how lucky are we that everything gets to be so special again? Because you watch children when they taste a food for the first time and they're so overjoyed about it. It's like, wow, especially ice cream. What is this? Like, it's cold, it's sweet, it's melting in my mouth. Like, what is going on? It's a really exciting thing. And then we go through sort of all of our eating disorders and all the restriction, and we actually get to do it again. And I mean, I know you got quite overwhelmed and cried that first time you had an ice cream, but at the same token, what a beautiful experience. Like, to be able to feel that joy. And, I'm sure that would have been a very powerful moment for you, not just because the taste of the food or anything like that, but the personal growth that happened in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. And also seeing the people around you when you do things for the first time again that you haven't done for so long, that's a bonus. And yeah, I remember the look on my mom's face when I actually had birthday cake for the first time again, and seeing her so happy that, like, all the past months of well, not suffering, but feeling miserable were blown away in an instant.
Yeah.
So those are the moments where you feel like, okay, I don't have my period back yet, but that's definitely worth it. Or just noticing mindset shifts. Like, I remember sitting in a dentist's office years ago, and there was this old lady, I don't know, maybe in her 70s, and she was super skinny. She was sneakers and jeans, and we started talking, and for some reason she told me that she's going running every day, and I felt, oh, this is me when I get old. I want to be like her when I get old. I want to run until up into my 80s. So and now what I admire in people are women that actually look like women, that enjoy life, that hang out with their girlfriends and have cocktails and cheesecake like the Golden Girls, or women with, I don't know, 2 or 3 children, with a very fertile body. This is what I admire now, and this is what I really want to achieve, rather than being an 80-year-old, maybe the only 80-year-old in the circle of friends that is still active, because all the others are sitting and knitting or things
And
like this.
chatting and having tea and coffee, and
Very stereotypical, but this is, yeah, it's also, that goes to show how much the mindset
yeah.
changes over
No,
time.
it's very powerful what you said just then, because even if you're like listening to this podcast right now and you're sitting there going, no, but I want to be the 80-year-old who runs all the time, because that absolutely could be what's happening. And knowing that immersing yourself in other forms of media in that are living a life that's going to facilitate what your goal is can actually really help shift your mindset. Because, and it comes up a lot with social media. If you're on Instagram and all of the accounts that you're following are always get shredded, six-pack abs, training all the time, how to cut calories, all that sort of area, because we're flicking through and all we're seeing is flashings of those stories, it makes sense that that's all our brain goes to as soon as we're not working or doing something for fun. It's like, well, that's what you're filling my mind with. But it's such a simple tool, even if you feel like you're not ready to be motivated to, when I'm 80, I would rather be having a cup of coffee and knitting a sweater, or gosh, having a cocktail, who knows? Actually surrounding your media profiles with women that are still successful. Like, they might still train, they might still run a business, they might still be really busy, but there's an emphasis, or and successful, but there's a big emphasis on, as you said, life, having fun with the girls, going out on a holiday, taking themselves to the movie. I don't know, it could even be jumping naked into a lake. Like, it doesn't have to be anything expensive or lavish, but just the idea that they're really immersed in making the most out of life, rather than making the most out of their strength and their cardiovascular capacity, because they're just so different. Have you found that with your shifts in perspective, with your shifts in desires, that things like conversation with friends, your social media accounts, that the conversations have also shifted with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we in the HA Society, we talk a lot about cleaning the feet regularly. So that was something that at the beginning I thought, I don't need to do this. I'm okay with seeing those skinny girls with abs and thigh gaps and whatever. And it took me a while to get started on cleaning up, but when I did, it was so freeing, and I really noticed that I stopped comparing myself. Um, even like even if I felt like it's okay, I don't get triggered, but I actually did. And in my circle of friends, I'm in the lucky position that I don't have any friends who work out at all. So that was never really a trigger. Like on the contrary, I realized how much I previously talked about working out and eating certain things, and I even brought it up to my friends, and I asked them, I mean, were you not bored by all the workout stuff I talked about and showed you and sent you? And she said, well, that was just your focus. That was your identity. That was who you were. But like they didn't like me for what I did, but for who I was. And I feel now that we have a lot more quality time and we do different things now. I join them for things that I wouldn't have joined previously. Like we go to a spa on the weekend, or I stay out late with them when we have drinks. So I'm not the first one going home. I'm not the last one to arrive at a party because I have to do my workout before and I have to eat my special foods before going somewhere. That completely changed, and they really love that. Yeah, it just I feel like time's so much more valuable now with them, and the focus is completely elsewhere. It's not about what I look, it's about what I do and what I like doing.
Yeah, and I just love every part of what you brought up then, because it's so important. A big part of HA recovery is we tend to think that people only like us for our fit identity. And that's definitely a reality that we create over time, because we hear people say, oh, you're so disciplined, or oh, you look fabulous, and they give these lovely compliments, and we start to think that that's the only reason they like us, is because of those behaviors and those and impressions and things like that. But as you so beautifully said, you brought up with your friends that, oh, was I a bit boring for those workouts? But they were with you because they love you as a person and your personality and your empathy and your humor and all of the things that have got absolutely nothing to do with your physical appearance or your hobbies, and everything to do with just your innate nature. And I think that's just such a powerful message for anyone listening to this podcast right now, to know that if you're doubting people's desire to be around you and you think it's because of an exercise routine, it's so far from that. And at least if you are thinking it, give the people around you the opportunity to talk to you about what they actually do like about you. And it literally could be that conversation being like, okay, I need to stop going to the gym. Are you bothered by it? Or can you just tell me why you enjoy my company? And they might go, oh, why do you want to know that? But sometimes it's exactly what you need to hear. You need to go, oh, no, I just think you're really funny. I think you're really caring. I think you're really kind. I'm 99% sure no one's going to turn around and say it's because of your dietary requirements or because of your fitness routine, despite how it feels in the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And it's more like I do like you, although you have those dietary restrictions or although you work out excessively.
Mm.
And I remember for me the biggest reason why I did not try to recover sooner was my husband, because he met me when I was at my skinniest, and I thought, okay, this is how he met me, this is how he likes me, this is how he wants me to be. And he always, when he saw my abs, he was always making comments about my abs and how strong I look and that he's the weak one in the relationship. And that made me proud, but also scared to change anything about it. So I try to uphold part of my fitness identity and my shape for him. And then when I thought about really taking recovery seriously, that was, yeah, as I said, that was holding me back the most. But then when we talked about it in also in our community calls, I realized that if I think that my husband only likes me when I look a certain way, even after 10 years of being together, that's like, he's not that shallow. Like, and if I, that's really mean of me to think that this is the only thing he's interested in, why he's interested in me. Then I try to keep him out of all my mental ups and downs as much as possible. But sometimes I still talk to him. Then I even brought it up to him, and he said, well, to be honest, I always thought that you were too skinny, and now that you gained a little weight, I like you a lot better. So if I would have had that conversation years earlier, years before, I probably would have had the guts to also start recovery earlier. So yeah.
Another incredibly important thing you brought up, because I know that's something I definitely faced when I journeyed into HA recovery. I met my husband soon after I competed, and then forever after, I was always pretty lean, like abs, training all the time. And I used to train 2-3 times a day, but so did he. That was sort of what we did as a couple. It was our, not only my identity, but also sort of our identity as the fit couple kind of thing. And I remember when I officially started to go half in, because I wasn't ready to go all in, but that still felt like such a huge step. Like, I'm going to reduce training and eat more. It was like literally taking a step off a cliff. And I remember saying to him, like, but I need you to know, like, I'm going to gain weight, and I need you to know that I can't come to the gym all the time. And I still remember him being like, yeah, it's okay. Like, there was almost like it was a waste of conversation. And I don't mean that as in he didn't hold space for me, because he always did. But I'm sitting there like a meerkat being like, I need you to know this, and I need you to know this. And if I could have had a big warning sign that was flashing, I probably would have had one, because somehow I created that world where it's like, well, he met me with these behaviors and looking a particular way. I have to uphold that. And if I don't, maybe I run the risk of being disliked. Maybe I run the risk of being broken up with. Maybe I run the risk of our love shrinking. And at the time, that was very real. They were very real fears. And even though he said, it doesn't matter, your health comes first, do whatever you got to do, all the things you would hope someone would say to you, he said, I still had this intense fear of something's going to go horribly wrong. And then I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose the fitness. I'm going to lose my partner. And then, same as sort of what you witnessed, was you sort of start to calm down and trust the process and witness that, oh, nothing is actually dependent on your behaviors or your physical image. And then you sort of do get slingshot into that, how shallow. Like, I'm sad that I thought those things, because my husband is so much more than that. So to even think that those scenarios could play out is awful, because it's just, if you actually really sat there and thought about the characters that they are and the people that they are, and really thought more about them in this situation than ourselves, it would have been so easy to see from the outside that this actually doesn't matter. Not one little bit. They want us to be healthy. They're our partners in life. They want us to be happy, healthy, and thriving. And if we're not, they just want what's best for us. But it felt like such a difficult process. And then when the penny dropped, it was like, oh, goodness me. I spent all this time stressing and delaying recovery for something that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, totally. And just imagine it the other way around. Like, we would want our husbands to be healthy and do whatever is best for their health and for mental space. So why would it be different the other way around?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, have you found that your husband's support is definitely like a big part of your HA recovery? Because I know with me going through weight gain and body changes and even just change of routine, it was such a new world. But to have him sort of either give me encouragement or sometimes to even just say, oh, I couldn't do what you're doing, because he used to train all the time as well. Um, I found he was sometimes my greatest strength and also my greatest motivator, because I had that trust with him that I didn't have with others. So for them to sit there and sort of go, I'm so happy you're just here having dinner with me, or I don't know, maybe you fit the jeans nicer, or just little sort of trinkles of compliments and gestures here or there. Do you find that those sort of really motivated you to just stay on track and keep doing what you're doing?
It's funny you asked that because my husband was not supportive at all, like not
Okay.
actively supportive. Um, he held back a lot, and after a few weeks, I asked him why he's not more encouraging, because I thought he's totally against the whole process and he's scared of me changing and it's too much for him. But he said, I know that you do what you have to do. And I feel like me interrupting you in any way or interfering in any way will maybe make you turn around.
Okay.
So it was, and that's why I was happy to have this, or I am happy to have this online community, because this is where I do my recovery, and at home with my husband, I live my life. What he did do though is, like, whenever he saw something that improved, he would mention it and he would say, I'm proud of you for doing this and that. So he
Beautiful.
said, well, he said he never, well, he did make compliments before when I put on a nice dress or something. He was like, oh, you look nice in that dress. But I noticed more and more he would tell me, oh, you look so pretty today. You look happier, you look healthier. And yeah, we all know what can happen if somebody tells us we look healthy.
Yeah,
But no,
healthy can be a
I knew,
painful.
yeah.
Mm.
But I know how he meant it, and I took it the right way. And he encouraged me to, well, not encouraged me, but he loves eating. He loves eating out, and I remember how much he enjoyed it when I was the one suggesting that we would go out for dinner or to have lunch somewhere else. And he's the person, he likes ordering different things and then just switching plates or trying each other's dishes. And he was so happy. And I remember he said that the first few times he was like, I'm so glad you're eating like a normal person again, because this is what I love most about eating out, when we can share stuff.
Yeah.
And that was, so he didn't really actively support me like other husbands support or boyfriends support their girls when they say, okay, just sit here, you're not going for this walk right now, or you are eating a second dessert, or finish that plate. I know that there are guys like this,
Mm.
but my husband was never trying to force me to do something or hold me back from doing something, because he said, you're old enough, you know what you're doing. I'm here to listen to you if you want to. And I talked to him a lot at the beginning, but he never really responded.
Mm.
And I thought, am I boring him? Am I saying something wrong? And then
Yeah,
I
he
thought,
just
okay,
gave you space.
yeah, exactly. And then I thought, okay, what would I, how would I feel if it was the other way around? And he would constantly tell me about, oh my God, I look horrible. I'm so scared about gaining weight. I want to work out, but I can't. I should eat more, but I'm so full. I feel bad. I feel like crap. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is something that I should not all put on my partner, and instead have other areas where I can talk about that. And this is, yeah, where the online community helps tremendously.
Yeah, but I like how you brought to service the different levels of support, because my husband was much the same in regards to, he didn't suggest foods that I eat. He didn't suggest training protocols or anything like that. He would never say don't go for a walk, or, and thank goodness for that, because I did not want that kind of support. But I think that's really important for women to witness the kind of help that they need, and to sort of have conversations with their partners about the best, or best friends or family members or whoever it might be, about the best levels of support. Because some women literally say, if I go to walk out that door, please don't let me. Where I know hands down, if I went to walk out the door and someone stopped me, I that would have made me very cranky, because I'm a grown woman. If I want to go for a walk, I'm going to go for a walk, even though the intention behind it was pure. But I think because we are also unique in our recovery journeys and the relationship dynamics that we've got with our support people, that being really honest and true to what we need to make this process easier. If it's space, let them know it's space. If it's a few compliments here or there, let them know that, you know, they're welcomed. Thank you. If it's the suggestion of dinner because you're not ready to offer dinner yet, or if it is like whatever it might be, regardless of what it is, if you can have those kinds of conversations with the people around you, it really does help to make things easier, because you do need a fair bit of space to process all the things that are going on. And you do need support as well. And it is a bit of a delicate dance, especially at the start when, as you said, you're just so wanting to do everything perfect. And it's like, what is perfect in this process? Um, but the spontaneity sort of come up a couple of times throughout this podcast as well. And I wish there was a part in HA books or documents that outlined how important spontaneity is, because I truly believe that that is such a core part of HA and ED recovery. And that's the capacity to just on the spot make a decision and to not be freaking out, because it's such a big sign of you being present in the moment and being able to choose joy over rules and routines. How do you feel the same way if you look back at your HA time when you're training and dieting and all those sorts of things to now? Do you feel like spontaneity took a little bit of time to kick in, and now that it's here, are you glad?
I'm so glad because it makes life so much easier in a lot of ways. I save a lot of time on things like even meal prep. Like I would prepare my food 2 days in advance. Like I would know what I would have 4 days later for dinner or for lunch, or like I had to make sure that I have all the foods at home I need. I never ran out of anything that was on my meal plan. Whereas now, sometimes there are days or weeks where I don't even know what's in the fridge. And I just walk up to the fridge and eat whatever I feel like eating at that moment. So it's more intuition, it's more, yeah, more freedom. And the fact that I don't have to have everything here, and that I don't have to plan for everything, makes it a lot easier. Also, just to go out, because previously when my husband said, "You want to go out for dinner?" I said, "No, the next 3 dinners are already planned." So we could go out in 4 days if you want, but up until then, no
It's
way.
planned. Yeah.
Yeah. And also with friends, when friends would have called, I would be like, I can't do dinner, and I would never tell them that I already know what I will have for dinner, or I have planned my dinner already. I would just say, oh, I'm busy, or I already have plans. And now I can just say, yeah, let's do this, let's go out. Or I don't have those fixed meal times anymore. Like if someone would call me an hour before meal time, I would freak out, because I would be like, okay, I really want to meet her or him, but I have to eat in an hour. I cannot go out now, because what if it takes longer than 45 minutes, that I won't be back home in time to eat. So those are the things that are completely gone, things that I don't have to worry about anymore. And it just makes life so much easier in every way.
Yeah. And in the moment, we say we've got more control. You know, this makes us life easier. Like my meals are prepped 4 days in advance. I know what I'm having for lunch. And, I just do my cook up every couple of days. And it's really easy to paint the picture of this makes my life easy. Like I don't even think about food because it's already tubbed up and ready to go. But when you see it on hindsight perspective, as you just described, it's actually quite difficult to maintain because it means saying no to a lot of fun experiences. It means having such a set structure that you don't have space for fun and spontaneous things to happen because you're so blocked into the plan. I guess when you look back to when you had all those like meal prep in place, did you feel like that was a nice way to live? Like it was comfortable, it was organized, or even at the time you found it really stressful?
No, I loved it. I loved it. And I thought, why is not everyone doing this? Like I didn't understand people that have empty fridges or things in the fridge where they don't even know it's there, or where things would spoil and then they have to throw it out. Because I had like my fridge was in my brain all of the time. And I was proud of it. And like my sisters always said, wow, I wish I would be as organized as you. But thinking back now, that wasn't no good way to live. Like that's boring. That's like being, I don't know, being in jail. Maybe every day I would do the same routines every single day, and there was no variation. And as I mentioned before, my husband is a musician, so he's always, back then he always left the house at, I don't know, 5:30, and then I would be by myself, so no one would call me out on my rigid routines. And in the morning when I get up, he usually sleeps because he comes home late, so I'm alone until like 9. So I could always also do whatever I wanted to do without being observed in the morning, and no one would ever interfere with whatever I did. And yeah, that's all. That's why I know the pandemic is tragic, but for me, for HA recovery, for my personal development, it helped tremendously. Also, like my husband, from one day to the other, my husband was home all the time. And that also contributed to me, or my willingness to do things differently, to shake up routines, to stay in bed longer, to make sure that there are other things happening at night and in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes, like, as you said, the pandemic's a tragedy, but it makes me very happy to hear that there is positive things that have come from it. And it has been that way for many, many people out there. It's like, okay, it was a dark time, but I was able to bring light into it, and here's how. So I'm so proud of all the progress that you've made, and I'm so grateful for you for coming on today. And I can't wait to have you on in the future when you can come back and be like, yes, here it is, ladies and gents, the period is back. Here's a little reflection between the last podcast and what's happening now. But given all the stories that have been on the podcast, you're doing all the wonderful, joyous things. You're taking time to have fun again. You're enjoying your relationships, and you're taking on stress management practices. You're a part of a community. You're still learning, but you're still exploring as well. Now it's just that beautiful little wait until the day arrives. But it sounds like you're doing all the right things. So that's a hard place to get to. And I just want to congratulate you on doing all the work that it takes to getting to where you are right now.
Thank you so much. And also thank you for being such a role model in this community and for cheering for all of us.
Oh, thank you. No, I love this space, and I'm so glad to have women like you listening in and then now joining on the podcast. It's really special. So thank you so much. I'm gonna link your Instagram details in the show notes if anyone listening wants to reach out and have a chat with you. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.